start some recommendations for the sessions. Good morning, everyone.
Afrique australe.
Afrique australe, de l'Est et de l'Ouest.
De l'Est et de l'Ouest.
So again, I think you can start. Thank you.
Excellent. So a very, very good morning to all our friends and our colleagues and our sisters and brothers from all over Africa and beyond. Just to let you know, my name is Sugen Mudli, and it's indeed a privilege and honor to be the moderator for this morning's session. I also was very much, again, a privilege to be part of the writing team that helped produce the module 4 that we'll be spending the next few days on. I think just as a short opening comment, many of us know there's so much written on decentralized cooperation, and certainly a lot on sustainable development goals, but very little on actually how to make decentralized cooperation happen to drive the SDGs internationally. So just as a little opening, I just want to say that I feel all of us on this call today and those who will be joining shortly, we certainly making history on the continent. With those few words, I just want to note that I'll be making some housekeeping logistical announcements shortly, but to officially open the session, I'd like to hand over to Sarah Hoflich, who's absolutely no stranger to anyone, who's the learning director from UCLG and who's been the thought leader, the champion, the driver. So it's my pleasure to hand over to Sarah, who will commence with the opening session. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Sogen, and it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's a duty, and it's an honor to be today with our African section, and in particular with ALGA, and roll out our new module on decentralized cooperation. We call it Module 4 because it also deals with localizing the SDG. This module is developed by UCLG, the learning team, our usual partners, which are the United Nations agencies, in this case, UNDP, United Nations Development Programme, and UN Habitat, and Platforma. Platforma, I hope we can count on them in the opening, because they have been very, very crucial to be, to not only to finance, but also to engage in this module. So for us, it is a pleasure because the decentralized cooperation, as Sogen said, much has been written, much is being talked, much is observed, many hopes are convened, but we lack and we need to work more practical. This was a very clear demand of many of our members, in particular from your region. So we hope that after 4 days of intense training, you will understand. So before going into the agenda, I would like to invite François Yatta, in representation to the UCLG Africa, to give some welcome remarks on behalf of UCLG Africa, who is leading this training. François?
François, I think you're muted, so we cannot hear you.
Okay, is it okay now?
Yes.
So, morning to all, and welcome to this important event on decentralized cooperation. On behalf of Jean-Pierre Olong-Bassi, the Secretary General of United Cities and Local Government of Africa, I want really to thank all our institutional partners, which are United Cities and Local Government, Department of learning and capacity building, represented by Sarah, Platforma, the Sweden SIDA, and also the European Union. Why this event on decentralized cooperation is very, very important for us? As you know, since in Africa, we organize local elections at the local government level, we have mayors, we have institutional representatives of these local governments. And as you know, decentralized cooperation have a big value added, which is there is nothing better for a mayor to be coached or supported by another mayor, nothing better for a chief financial officer to be supported, helped by another chief financial officer. This is the way, I think, for us, and we can say that the different evaluation made show that decentralized cooperation have a better impact on the institutional capacity of local governments in Africa and elsewhere. So this is why for us, it's a very, very important topic. And I want to also thank here in UCLG Africa, Madam Najat Zahouk, who is leading, as you know, the ALGA, and Charles Patika, who is in charge here of decentralized cooperation within UCLG Africa. So thank you and have good discussions during this event. I want just to highlight that we have 15 countries represented here, Anglophone countries from Southern Africa, West Africa, and East Africa. Thank you very much and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francois. And I hope we can count on you a little bit in the coming days. Also, not only as lecture, but also engaging, because of course here our work is to create a partnership also between the technical spheres, which are mainly here today. Just one little reminder for those who are coming in, it would be wonderful if you could also switch on your camera. So in particular, because after the welcome, we will have a small introduction. So please be prepared that we will want you also to shine here through the Zoom. And next welcome, we are very happy to count on Marlene Simon, who is the director of Platforma and also deputy director to CMR, our European section. So Marlene, the floor is yours to welcome the participants.
Thank you very much, Sarah, and good morning to everyone and to Francois in particular. It's a pleasure to be with you today. So thank you for inviting me to introduce the module on decentralized cooperation and the sustainable development goals. So for us, this is really the core of our work at Platforma. So we bring together individual, local and regional governments, national associations of local and regional governments, global associations of local and regional governments, such as UCLG, for instance, together around decentralized cooperation and the sustainability agenda. So since 2015, we have signed also a framework partnership agreement with the European Commission, and we work closely together to help also reach out the EU priorities and bring the local voice to the EU to shape the EU policy. As you know, the partnerships are at the heart of the 2030 agenda, and in particular, the SDG 17 is the main pillar for us, which brings together all the SDGs and allow for an integrated approach. It says in particular, successful development agenda requires inclusive partnerships at the global, regional, national, and local levels, built upon principles and values and upon a shared vision and shared goals, placing people and the planet at the center. So my colleagues have been working hard, Sarah with an H and Sarah of Licht, have been working hard with the UCLG team, which consulted the many actually regional sections such as UCLG Africa to develop such a training. So indeed our objective was to go beyond the traditional Europe and partner countries partnerships, but also to embrace the fact that the partnerships have evolved a lot in the last years, that they take place all over the world and can take many forms to reinforce local institutions, as François was saying, everywhere. And with the SDGs as a common language, so it can allow also to have more equal partnerships. With the COVID, we could see that the partnerships are all the more important, and the module text really it's all yes, important in this context where partnerships, inspiration, and innovation are really at the core concepts of it. So I hope you will find it useful. We know that decentralized cooperation and the 2030 agenda are very broad and vast, but we think this model could help to bring them together and to induce, to put the SDGs and the sustainability in the decentralized cooperation. So city to city, region to region, mayor to mayor cooperation. So thank you very much. And I wish you 4 good days of meetings and good luck for this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marlene. And it is so nice to count on you, on Platforma, and you will also for the colleagues here from Africa, we will have Platforma colleagues throughout, because this more than only a training of trainers is really also a space to build connections. So I hope that you will also know what Platforma is doing and how to deal, how to connect, and how to better enhance our cooperation inside the different spaces connected to UCLG. So I would like now to show you some slides to give you a notion where we are. So of course, this PowerPoint presentation you will see through over, and we also will build capacity how to deal with it. This sounds maybe a little bit weird that you have to, in your lectures, to use a PowerPoint presentation that is like pre-made, but it is important because we are really looking into building blocks and building knowledge. So this presentation later will be accessible for all participants, and you can use it, train with it, prepare yourself, or just check knowledge. The same with the module that we have shared with you in the PDF version. Next slide, please. Yeah, here we are in the training agenda. We are now in day 1. You can see we are in the introduction. Later we will have two content packs. One, what is decentralized cooperation? And the second, why decentralized cooperation is important for the global policy agenda. And then in the day 2, day 3, day 4, we roll out all this agenda. We will go very practical and we will go very playful. We have a number of really important and very exciting games that you can later use in your networks and in your communities. Next. So here, this is the day 1. Again, I think here you can see we will have lectures from your region. We also have some prepared lectures, because this is also a way, if you do the training later, you can use a lecture that is pre-recorded, And I think we have here people from around the globe talking, but we are very happy to have in particular African trainers today. Next. So here is now the module, because this is my duty now to introduce you what the module is about. So I said before, we want to create capacity. We want to have professional cooperation technicians in Africa. We want to have participants to our global learning forum, because this is important. We need your perspective. You will see how important is the African perspective, the African way of seeing for effective cooperation, for effective decentralized cooperation. So you will not only increase your knowledge to build the narrative, you will also have the understanding of the transformative decentralized cooperation aligned with and operationalizing, difficult word for me, sorry, the SDG. The SDG agenda, I think Marlene made the point. This is a big opportunity. We will actively engage into development outputs to improve practice, and we will recommend to enhance and existing cooperative engagements. So these are the expectations. I think if you have more expectations, don't worry. Let us know in the exercises or in the chat, and we will of course react to all the expectations you might have. Here you have seen a little bicycle for that transformative element, and now we will explain why in the next slide. We will use this bicycle allegory all over, because decentralized cooperation mainly is move. So we move development, we move towards the roadmap that is in this case the SDG. And for moving, we need to be ready to move. So the bicycle to us seemed a very good analogy for that we need all things in place. So we talk about stakeholders, partners. I think Francois made the point, our leaders, the mayors, but we also need policy design, we need funding, we need partnership agreements, we need projects. So these are all elements that require professional preparation and professional work and professional monitoring. And we will come to this. And finally, of course, all this is linked to a very precise territory. This is your cities, your villages, your regions. Okay, and I think I leave it here, because now it's time to know you. And I will hand over to Maria Alejandra to the learning exercise to know each other. Thank you very much for being with us.
Hello all. So and welcome to the Trainer of Trainers. As everybody has said before, it's a real pleasure to have you here with us and to build this community with you. So first, before we get to know you, I just wanted to give the word to Sogen, just very quickly, for him to give just a few comments that you will need to know, some kind of like a housekeeping information for you to be aware. So if Julia, if you could, thank you, Julia. Go on, Sogen.
Thank you so much. Our technical team is on the ball. So just some quick moderator notes, everyone. So just to recap and to get everyone on the same page again, in terms of purpose and why we're all here for the next 4 days. There's actually, we're using this whole blended learning approach that Sarah told us about, with lectures and exercises and exciting group activities, to do 2 important things. And I think it's really important for all of us to understand this, right? And the first is to empower all of us here as participants with the knowledge of SDG-linked decentralized cooperation through the session. And the reason I'm emphasizing this first part is that the team would really want you to use the chat function with the little heading content query. So if you type in your chat some content query to post any question you're not sure about the content, then at the end of each session, we will discuss some of these content queries, right? So that's the first kind of objective, to empower everyone with the knowledge. But also there's a second part, which is around each of us having the skills, the tools, the methods, so that after all, this is a ToT, right? A training of the trainers. And ultimately, we're empowering all of us to go back and train other LRG officials on the continent. So again, if we can please ask you to use the chat function with the heading training query and post any query that is related to something you're not so sure about. And you're thinking, okay, this is great, but how do I do this from a training point of view? Or you might be thinking, geez, you know, we're just giving 10 minutes, but I'm sure we need more time there. So if it's training related and you just want to pop it as a training query, or if you're not comfortable using chat, if you want to make a little note at the end of the session, we will have a reflection session around the content and training. So I think that's very important just to emphasize, after all, it's a ToT. Some very quick other ground rules. Of course, we're really encouraging you to stay for the entire session, not just during each day, but for the 4-day session, because if we are going to be the trainers that are going to empower others, it's important to have the entire understanding. Mariale is a brilliant timekeeper, and she's going to be having a stopwatch all ready. We understand that we have a total of 75 participants who have indicated interest. I know it's a far less this morning, but it's important that we keep to time. Of course, don't feel shy to actively participate. So again, we're creating maximum opportunities for participation. And as Sarah Huflik was saying, please, just so that about the shyness and participation, please show your video when you're engaging with us. And just a reminder to mute after you're speaking. So once you unmute, you put your hands up. If you can just be reminded again to hit the mute function after you're speaking. We also had a little note here just to remind everyone to actually type in their name. So for example, we might see right now when we go into the next activity, someone with the title Samsung or Nokia, and you're not sure who you are, please, if you can just do that, it would really help as well. So those are just some quick, brief housekeeping or ground rules. And I think we're all set and we're all systems go. So I'm going to hand back to Mariale to introduce our warm-up exercise. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So again, I think those tips are very good for us to keep on a good training of trainers. So with this, I know that you received an email by myself telling you to do this activity on Mural. So now we're gonna go, and as Sarah was saying, we're gonna go to meet you. So for this, I think my colleagues will share the link in case you don't have it. But I mean, in case you haven't entered, and if you could share, please, if you could share the screen with the mural exercise. Yeah, thank you, Valeria, for doing that. So now we're gonna start with this dynamic. This is something that if you are doing your training in presence, it's easier to do, because then you have a presentation from everybody. But here you can also benefit from this platform Mural to kind of do this warm-up exercise and try for people to see themselves. And that's why we ask you also to put your camera on. So let's just start. So as you have seen, now we're going to be introducing the people that already did the exercise. And this exercise is going to be up until the end of the training sessions. So each day, maybe we could be adding more people that didn't get the opportunity to do it just today. So first, I'm just gonna start by saying my name and saying where I'm from and say where I work. And then I'm gonna just pass it to one of the connections that I have. And that person will have to do exactly the same, present themselves, their name, their city, what they work, where they work from, and just pass it to another person and to another person. So I'm just gonna start by myself. My name is Maria Alejandra Rico. I work here at the UCLG World Secretariat. I work in the learning team, as you see, and I come from Bogota, Colombia. So now that I'm seeing my contacts here and the people that I have connections with, let's see, I have here Oscar Nixera from Urralga. Kigali in Rwanda. Oscar, can you please introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit more of you, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Oscar Nzirera, as you said, Nzirera. Yes, I come from Rwanda. I work for the Rwanda Association of Local Government Authorities, and my position is a social policy analysis specialist. And I'm very pleased to join the team for this interesting training on SDG localization. So Rwanda is an African country. We are in the Central Africa. So I'm very looking forward to learn more about this localization through local cooperation. Thank you.
This is great. Oscar, thank you for coming. So who do you want to know more about? Who do you see there that is connected to you or that you want to know more about? Who are the people that put their names in the platform? You can name anybody.
Thank you. I see I'm in the same sphere with Mr. Kivumbi, Alex. Maybe I would pass on to him for the next introduction.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alex, are you there?
Yes, I'm available. Thank you, Oscar. Yes, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I'm audible, right?
We hear you a little bit low. If you could speak a little bit up, thank you.
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chivumbi Alex. I work with Machingi Salvador Municipality, that's in Uganda, East Africa. I'm head of innovation and resource mobilization. Glad to be here. I hand over to, I think I'm connected to Genevieve.
Great.
Over to you, Genevieve.
Hi, everyone. My name is Genevieve Hartley, and I'm from South Africa, Durban, South Africa. I'm from MAO, which is the Municipal Institute of Learning, which is a knowledge management hub for all municipalities around the world. And I'm the program manager for strategic planning and technical support. Thank you. I will hand over to Abel Maniko from Maputo.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Abel Maniko. I work for the local government association of Mozambique, and I am program officer. So if you allow me, I would like to call upon Fernando.
Hello, my friend Abel, Genevieve, everyone. It's great to be here. Thank you. My name is Fernando. I work with Mariale, with Sara, and with the learning team of UCLG World Secretariat. And I originally come from São Paulo, now in Barcelona. Great day to all, great week. And I choose here John for the next one. I don't know if
John is here. Maybe we can choose another person.
Thierry.
Yeah, Thierry.
John Chomi from Malawi, from UN. John, are you here?
John?
No.
But if not Thierry.
Morning. I'm Thierry Sanzebogali from UCLG Africa, based in Rabat. I'm in charge of knowledge management, also monitoring and evaluation. It's a pleasure to me to be here to learn more about decentralized cooperation, because I think it's one of, we need to empower our city in this subject. Thank you.
So who do you pass it over, Thierry?
Dr. Ayat Sami from Rabat.
Okay. Najat?
Ayat Sami.
Hayat, sorry.
from city of Rabat.
Are you here, Hayat?
If she's not here, I see the screen. Mathilde Bernard.
Okay, Mathilde.
Good morning to all. Thank you, Thierry. I hope you're doing well in Rabat. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Mathilde Pena. I come from France, a middle-sized city called Bourges in the middle of France, but I live in Barcelona. I want to learn more about the learning module, so I'm very pleased to be here. And I'm a local finance officer working at UCLG World Secretariat with other colleagues that are present here. And I pass over to Marta.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here as well. So I'm Marta Llobet. I come from Barcelona, Spain. I work with my colleagues at the UCLG World Secretariat, namely at the UCLG Culture Committee. And today I will be facilitating 2 exercises for you. So now I pass the floor to, let's say, Gazazira.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Gasasira, and I'm from Kigali, Rwanda, a beautiful country, and I'm excited to be with you all. I'm working on a project funded by CRGF Caribbean with funds from European Union. I'm actually more focused on this training because I'm working on a project titled SDG Localization in Rwanda. So I guess I'm going to learn a lot on about decentralization as well. So I'm excited, and I'm passing on to, let me see the name, Julia from Cape Town. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for passing it on to me. I'm Julia Monroe. I'm from Cape Town, and I'm currently based in Madrid, and I'm part of the UCLG Secretariat Learning Team. I pass it on to Juan Carlos.
Hello, thank you, Julia. My name is Juan Carlos Uribe. I was born in Caracas, Venezuela, and I'm working now in Barcelona together with the UCLG learning team at the World Secretariat. Thank you very much. It's very nice to see you and get to meet you all. Now, I was not paying attention to all the names because I was tweeting, but has Nisiera Oscar already introduced himself? Yes, Najat then.
Yes.
I know Najat hasn't. Is she with us?
Yes,
Okay.
Juan Carlos, thank you very much. Najat Zarouk from UCLG Africa, Director of Development and of the Academy ALGA. And I'm very honored to be co-organizer of this great initiative. Thank you. And I'm from Morocco, by the way.
Great, Najat. I think your camera is off. So
I would like to invite Geneviève, if Geneviève already presented or not?
I've already introduced myself.
Okay. So Philomen, if you are here, Philomen, please.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. My name is Philomen Dabire. I'm from UCLG Africa, ALGA. I based from Burkina Faso. Thank you.
So Philomen, who do you want to know more about? Who do you pass it to? Maybe we can, we have here a person that wants to introduce himself. His name is Itu. I don't have the last name, but Itu, if you want to say something, please go ahead.
I'm Philomen Dabire.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Hello.
My name is, good morning, everyone. My name is Onesmus Ituo from Kenya. I work with Machakos County Government as the Director of County Administration and Coordination decentralized units. I'm happy to be associated with you, and we are going to be together in this training.
Very, very good to have you. So I don't know if you see the platform, but I think we do have maybe Sogen.
Yes, I
You
do.
already introduced yourself, but maybe you can go back, or maybe not Lutando in this case, because you already introduced yourself again. Sorry.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nolutando Mkize. I'm from Durban, South Africa. I'm the support to the UCLG World support. I'm basically supporting, and I'm glad to be part of this process. And I'd like to hand over to Serai Machinda from Harare.
Vous vérifiez le nom?
Good day, everyone. My name is Serai Machinda from Urban Councils Association. Welcome to this meeting.
Oh, thank you very much. My apologies for logging in a bit late. I was facing some internet challenges. I'm away from the office. I'm in the field.
Okay, Harold. So where do you go? Where do you work from?
I work at the Malawi Local Government Association, MAGA, the National Association in Malawi as the executive director.
This is very good. So I think maybe we're missing Charles.
Good morning, everybody. Maria?
Yes. Yes, go ahead.
So good morning, everybody. My name is Abir Ashur. I'm from Tunisia, and I'm from the ALGA team, an intern in the ALGA team. And I hope for you all a good training day.
Thank you. So I think we were missing Charles.
Okay, yeah, hello.
Oh, Perpetua, go.
Yeah, hello, my name is Perpetua Nanoso Alante from Ghana. I work with the local government service as human resource manager. Thank you.
Thank you, Perpetua. So now we have Tita Follow.
Hello.
Hello, Tita Follow.
Mr. Mayor, please go ahead.
Yeah, my name is
White.
Wano I'm mayor for Blantyre City in Malawi.
Hi,
I'm happy
Mayor.
to be among the group, and I'm very much interested actually to deepen my knowledge on this decentralized cooperation, which already I think partly I've been in practice. So I'm glad to be with the team.
And we are glad you are with us. So now we can have Tita Follow to introduce himself. Thank you, Tita.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. I'm Tirafalo Joingilizwe. I work as a town planner for the City of Francis Town Council in Botswana. I'm happy to be here to learn more about decentralized cooperation. This will help us to further our city-to-city engagement with the city of Genk. I'm also happy to inform you that we were selected to pilot the monitoring and reporting on human settlement indicators, specifically dealing with SDG 11. Hence, this will help me further to localize and also teach our communities, our civil society about the SDGs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tirafala, and we are very sure that we are going to be learning a lot from you as well. So I think with this, maybe I can finish up with Charles. That was the one that I think is missing. So Charles?
Good morning, everybody. I'm very happy indeed to be participating in this. My name is Charles Patsika. I'm an advisor for decentralized cooperation. And I find this topic exceedingly important as we transform our old ways of collaborating amongst the partners to explore new ways to really help us deepen the development thrust of our decentralized cooperation. So I welcome you to this seminar as well. I'm very happy to be part of this learning process. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. So I think we have Mercy that maybe we didn't see his name in the platform. So please, Mercy, tell us about yourself.
Okay, good morning. My name is Mercy, and I'm the Regional Programs Officer for Lake Victoria Regional Local Authorities Corporation. which is a network of all local authorities in the Lake Victoria Basin, that is Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. And soon we are expecting to be joined by Rwanda and Burundi. I'm looking forward to the discussions, and I wish you great deliberations. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Merci. Merci is actually presenting us a very nice case of decentralized cooperation tomorrow. So thank you for being here, and also thank you for presenting that and being one of our lecturers. I think we have Juma that wants to present himself.
Hello, good morning. Juma Nyende.
We cannot hear you very well. Could you please speak a little bit up?
Hello, good morning. You'll excuse me, my network is not the best, but let me hope you're hearing me. I'm Juma Nyende, the director of the Eastern Africa Region Office of UCLG Africa. You're most welcome, and I look forward to the training. Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Thank you. So now we have Maureen, one of our presenters as well. So Maureen, how are you? Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning to everybody. My name is Maureen Kambala. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Maureen.
I'm the Chief Administrative Officer with the Association of Local Authorities, and I'm based in Windhoek, Namibia.
Thank you. Okay, so Dr. Hayat Sami, it's just here. So if you want to introduce yourself, please do.
Yes, thank you very much, Maya. I'm Dr. Hayat Sami, Head of International Cooperation and Partnership in the city of Rabat. And I'm very glad to participate and contribute to the Module 4 of Decentralized Cooperation and Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sami. And actually, Dr. Sami is going to present us as well another interesting practice between Rabat and Dakar tomorrow. So thank you for being here. So here, I mean, if we do have more people that come tomorrow, we come back to this exercise. But what we wanted to, besides knowing each other and see our faces, what we wanted to exemplify with this is how this is actually a proof for the decentralized cooperation, how we all come from different places, but we are linked to each other, and we are working in a spirit of solidarity, in a spirit of co-creation, and we have an actually joint agenda to go, and we want to learn from each other. So with this, and this is going to pass to the second part of the exercise that I think some of you fill in. So we ask you, what was decentralized cooperation for you? So I just wanted to go through some of the concepts that you said, because it is really something that is going to be related with the lecture that we're going to be given afterwards. So we said a lot of people put partnerships, collaboration, enhanced cooperation. A lot of you thought that they were shared values, shared culture, mutual sharing, mutual learning from each other. So we see that learning is a big part of this, of the vision that you do have from the decentralized cooperation. We see that they share chips of communication in terms of political, technical, crisis, etc. It's a lot of has to be with also learning, but also knowledge, best practice. Here we have the values as well of solidarity, projects with diversity and passion. That I think that's a great definition, that you have passions for what you do, as we do as well. Decentralized cooperation means also for you building Africa from grassroots, and we're going to see that we have to actually, decentralized cooperation is a way of bringing our grassroots and the community together to face and to find some solutions to the development challenges that we have. So here we have a strong and lasting relation between cities and territories, capacity, support among neighboring local and regional governments, exchange and collaboration, the fact of building bridges, building understanding, empathy, friendship, responsive to citizen real needs. So you see that you already have a lot of the concepts that we are going to mention, or that we're going to reflect on in the following lecture. So we are very glad to know that you do have the concept in your head. So let's just advance to the real training. I mean, this part of the training, but to the real session of the concepts. So if my colleagues could please just share the presentation, I would truly appreciate it. Thank you. So for this, we're going to start with session 1. Session 1 is reflected in chapter 1. One of the things that you as trainer have to really think about is that the module, the training, the physical module that you do have is a training instrument that you have to consult that has kind of like not all the answers, but most of the answers, and that it was created for you to actually support you in teaching people or in training others in this path that we are talking regarding decentralized cooperation. So this section actually, it's about having the section 1 is called, as you saw when Sarah was presenting, each of the chapter has a question that we want to answer. So this first session is about what is decentralized cooperation. So this session is aiming to have actually an understanding of the true complexity that decentralized cooperation has. So we're going to be seeing in these different lectures that we have in this first section, that we go from the definition to the principles, later on to see the frameworks, the legislative frameworks that entail decentralized cooperation. And we're going to pass to the history of decentralized cooperation, how it has evolved, actually to come to a conceptualization, a new conceptualization, a more transformative conceptualization of decentralized cooperation that is related and that is linked with the furthering or accelerating this 2030 agenda that involves us all. So for this part of this, and as Sarah explained, we have been using for this module an analogy of the bicycle. So we are dividing the different parts of the module in different parts of the bicycle. So here in this section, we're going to be seeing the territory where everything comes into life, where everything lands. So then we are going to see how local and regional governments, how their associations can actually are promoters and are coordinators of this decentralized cooperation that we are mentioning. So if you could go to the next slide, please. Okay, so for DC that we call decentralized cooperation has many forms and has many approaches depending on different local governments. We have seen that while researching, so again, Lutando and the team were researching for this model, we saw that there was not really a consensus of practitioners whether they have a unique definition of decentralized cooperation. And one of the things that we suggest and that you are going to be seeing in the module is that you do have a vast literature about decentralized cooperation. So you can go back to those links that are in the module and reflect on the different approaches that people and institutions have regarding decentralized cooperation. So, but for this part, for this training, we have actually got one specific definition that we want to share with you. So for this module, decentralized cooperation is the development cooperation that is between local regional governments and their association acting across borders to first mutually reinforce their capacity and to second involve economic and social actors and regional level to address the development challenges that they have. So if we do have this, we can have this kind of a shared concept. But as it is kind of difficult to conceptualize, as complex to conceptualize the definition of decentralized cooperation, maybe we can just lay it into the principles, because we have seen and we identified that several principles are shared as the current way that decentralized cooperation is working these days. So we can maybe just pass. So as you can see here, most of the principles were actually some of the reflections that you did when you were in the warm-up exercise. So first we have reciprocity and horizontal relations. So this means that actually the relationships between the local governments must be horizontal, must be mutually beneficial, as you were saying, mutually learning from people. It doesn't have to be more it has evolved from a donor-recipient relation, and it should include respect, it should include trust, and it should include symmetry. So the second principle we have is proximity and participation. We know that the local and regional governments are very close to citizens, and for that, there is the sphere of government close to citizens, and for that, it has the ability to actually mobilize participation, mobilize citizens' talent to actually engage them in trying to solve development challenges. So the third principle is multi-stakeholder and multi-level governance. So we see that also we have going to see in session 5 how the different actors, how are a big part of different actors that are involved in decentralized cooperation. So not just local government actors, but other actors such as civil society, cultural institutions, research institutions, private sector, other spheres of governments, and also multilateral organizations. The fourth one is a geographical alliance based on exchange and mutual learning. As you see, mutual learning is something that you also brought up in the exercise. So these alliances, this principle is about partnership, but partnership with a mutual or with a shared agenda. And in this case, we can have a political shared agenda as the 2030 agenda. And the fifth principle, is the greatest possibilities for solidarity. And I think we have seen that through the years, but now in terms of the pandemic, we have seen how decentralized cooperation and how solidarity is very important among governments, not just for learning, for exchanging, for looking together to very good solutions. So these are the 5 specific principles that are shared by most of the practitioners. So just to end up this lecture, I just want to reflect a little bit on the next slide, if you could. So just to the legislative framework that guides decentralized cooperation. So here we have we identified 4 groups. We have countries that have crafted specific legal instruments to regulate the international action. So for example, France of Ecuador has a specific legal instruments to have decentralized cooperation. Other countries that have opted to do legislative packages, like Spain, like Mexico, for example. Other countries that acknowledge DC in their legislation, like also Ecuador and Morocco, and most of the countries, which is the biggest group, that do not provide any legal framework to govern DC, but that they accept and support DC, having different kind of modalities for local governments to be engaged in DC. So as I was saying, just for finalizing this lecture, there is not a single definition for DC. There is also a great variation in the way cooperation in legislative governed from country to country, but we can see that there are shared values and that we can work together in this framework of decentralized cooperation. So for me, that will be it for this first lecture, and thank you. I pass to Sdg.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mariana. I'm just looking at the time and I want to almost give a big round of applause to say we're doing very, very well for time. So as presenters, as facilitators, that's excellent. So dear colleagues, just a reminder again that there are 6 chapters, right? As we'll be training others, there are 6 chapters. And during the course of today, we'll be doing chapter 1 before our break. And then we have a short break and we'll be doing chapter 2. So far, Mariana has set the scene beautifully, giving us the first lecture, Unpacking Decentralized Cooperation. And we're ready now to move on to try and understand the evolution of decentralized cooperation. And again, all of this information, the slides that you have, are drawn from the actual training guide. So without further ado, I'm going to be asking Julia to get ready to take us through the next lecture, which is the evolution, trying to understand how decentralized cooperation has evolved with time. And just another quick reminder to please use your chat function. If you're not sure and you have this question and you didn't have an opportunity, well, we don't have an engagement session right now, but please feel free to use your chat if it's a technical query or you're not so sure how to present this information for the training. Use your chat function, or if you're still shy, make a note of it, and certainly at the end of the session, we'll reflect again. So over to Julia for the next lecture.
Actually, it's Charles, sorry, just to correct you. It's Charles, the one that goes with this lecture. But it's okay.
My apologies, my apologies. Sorry, Charles, my apologies. Yours, please. Thank you.
That's okay. Thank you, Sohen. I was almost relieved that well, I'm going to spend the rest of the day just lingering around. So that's okay. Welcome everybody. I think before we really try to transform ourselves into a new way of looking at decentralized cooperation, it is important that we have a quick reflection of where we are coming from. So one of the issues that I would like to emphasize here is that decentralized cooperation is developing from something to something bigger, and from something which was basically really diplomatic relations to becoming more and more developmental in perspective. So just quickly, you will recall that after the Second World War, there was an agency to try and build peace and harmony between different nations. And one of the ways that governments thought could help was to build relations between cities. Cities are the grassroots. That is where the people are. And therefore, if you can unite cities, it means that also the people, the ordinary people, are more likely to become more united, better understanding of each other, moving away from the hostilities of the war towards more cooperation and friendship. So the focus was on really peace building and unity. Also to develop intercultural ties. We still see this a lot in the partnerships today. And to promote international solidarity, and also, of course, building institutional capacity. This trend of institutional capacity has continued to grow. It has not gone away. It is still very much there. Now, the Second World War really, to some extent, did not, well, it did involve Africa, yes, of course. I mean, all those who know history will know that many Africans were involved in the Second World War, and many Africans went all over the world to fight. So, but the more bigger issue concerning decentralized cooperation came after colonization. When the colonial masters were beginning to relinquish their control over Africa, they had to build up good relations. And one of the ways of building up good relations was to promote again these partnerships between cities and municipalities on the north-south basis mainly. So you would find a lot of partnerships around the 1960s between the global north and the south. You would find partnerships between French cities and Francophone Africa. You would find partnerships between English, Anglophone Africa, and Britain, for example. So these north-south partnerships, again, had similar objectives of building solidarity, building friendship between the colonizers and their subjects in a post-conflict situation. So generally, they were recognized. They were called the twinnings. These were twinnings. Now, as time developed, the General Assembly of the United Nations recognized the municipal twinning as a tool for international cooperation. This is you will know that the United Nations was established soon after the Second World War. And that was because, again, it was perceived that this institution would help to build. Therefore, the United Nations very quickly realized the importance of the cooperation among cities. And therefore, they recognized in 1971 the important role that municipal twinning took in international cooperation. So we can see this progression, this gradual progression now. Now, again, as we moved on further in the development of partnerships, we began to see more complex partnerships between municipalities, but now involving more than just the deliberative bodies. When I talk about the deliberative body, everyone in local governments knows that local governments are divided between the deliberative body, which makes the policy decisions, and the executive, which is the council staff and the execution of policy. So before, when we talk about partnerships, the relations were mainly between politicians. So the mayors from the north and the mayors from the south would exchange visits, exchange pleasantries, exchange some gifts, and build some kind of a relationship. But as the partnerships developed, we then found that there was deeper cooperation between not only the local government institution itself, but other actors in the community, like cultural groups, schools, education, businesses, also it extended now to the technical exchanges between personnel. We then had technical people learning from each other. A very good example I always give, which most of Africa is very aware of, is when the German organization, one of their ways of supporting African local governments was to second staff to support national associations of local government in Africa. So they would second an experienced person to come and support a national association to build its capacity as a national association representing local governments in the country. So you can see the progression from the political exchanges to moving now to more technical exchanges. Now, in 1992, a key benchmark took place when the Earth Summit, the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, which is also known as the Earth Summit, the Rio Conference, also recognized local and regional governments as agents of development in their own right. We very quickly move on to Istanbul, an occasion where I was still a young man, but very, very conscious of it. So for us in local governments at that time, the influence was key in transforming the relationship between local governments internationally, because it was at this meeting that which recognized the voice of local governments as being represented and being able to speak at the United Nations level, a very key development that took place in 1996. So gradually, as we can see, we then see the progression. Can you have the next slide, please? Right, just to summarize, therefore, this is just a summary now of this progression. We had North-North cooperation, like I explained. This was mainly to address peace after the Second World War. So it was partnering Russian cities and the German cities and so forth, partnering French cities and German cities to try and build up solidarity. These were North-North. Now, then we moved on to the North-South, which, like I was explaining earlier, was really pushed very much by the colonial relations, where you would find that British, British speaking, English speaking countries, other English speaking northern countries. And then we now have, as we, in this progression, we then have South-South, where we realized that it is important for southern countries themselves to partner and learn from each other and support their own development. Good examples are the partnerships that developed between Durban and Malawian cities. Very important partnerships because it really was learning between South-South countries. Sometimes also the South-South was linked up to a northern country, which then became what we call a triangular cooperation, linking the North and the South-South countries. So this is another progression. Finally, I will just quickly touch on the global, the bigger partnership, the more complex development in the partnership development, where we find that now local governments come together either continentally or globally to form a network of local governments. This is key. This is a key cooperation amongst local governments. In Africa, you will find our own organization, the United Cities and Local Governments of Africa, bringing local governments together. And we have sessions where we foster learning and foster the exchange of experiences amongst the local governments. We have our global institution, the United Cities and Local Governments World, which is hosting this meeting today, which brings together local governments all over the world to come together to express the voice of local governments and also to facilitate exchanges of experience, exchanges of learning and networking amongst the local governments. This is a very key development. I just want to hasten to point out that you can see some of the spin-offs of this global cooperation in the institution called Capacity and Institution Building, the CIB platform. This platform has done tremendous work to support local governments network by building knowledge, exchanging this knowledge, disseminating innovations, and linking up cities worldwide. So you can see this development now. It is now maturing to be a very strong global network of local governments. So basically, this is the progression that I wanted to explain. Clearly, we are moving into fresh waters. We are moving into much more consolidated partnerships amongst the local governments. And if we take this opportunity seriously, we are going not only to strengthen decentralization itself in different countries, but we are going to strengthen our capacity to serve the people more effectively, because learning is amongst ourselves is far, far more powerful than simply university or a college-based learning. When you learn amongst practitioners, you learn from your experience and you can immediately apply some of the innovations that you develop as partners. So we value decentralized cooperation a lot, and we think that in the future, this will be a key relationship platform for local governments and regional local governments, including their national associations as well. So for now, thank you very much. We'll engage more in our discussions, and I'm available all the time. We can further elaborate some of these key issues as we go on with this training of trainers course, which we really value as very important for our own local government development in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Charles, and my apologies again for that omission. It was an excellent overview to understand the evolution. So clearly, as you point out, we're moving into new waters. But the question is, how does decentralized cooperation relate to the SDGs, and what's that relationship? So to complete the picture, I now ask Julia to take us to understand and unpack this transformative nature of DC, which will wrap up this lecture. Julia?
Thank you, Sargan. Good morning, everyone. So as Charles has just highlighted, DC has been evolving and adapting over time to better and become with better new development narratives and relationships. Today, the Agenda 2030 and the SDGs, which we'll be talking a lot more about, have become the key roadmap of DC. And Agenda 2030 can be used to mobilize many different stakeholders to really get them to rally around this shared goal, and therefore to strengthen channels that they can use to liaise, to connect, communicate, and coordinate in order to make DC actions and efforts a lot more meaningful and long-lasting. So the new development agenda also provides an opportunity for local and regional governments to renew their political commitment to development, as well as the ways in which they can plan and work, implement and report on their DC strategies. So it's not just a process that is project-centered, but it's really linked to developing and informing society about a public policy framework for international cooperation. So this process, which is supported and sustained by strong networks and partnerships, can foster learning and co-creation, and it really contributes to the configuration of a transformative form of decentralized cooperation, which can, we believe, promote more tangible and co-produced sustainable development outcomes. So this current module we'll be engaging with over the next 4 days. We'll focus on this approach and examine decentralized cooperation as a process that involves many different variables, many different actors, and has many different interconnections. So I would like to now just go back to the bicycle analogy, which you see on the screen. So in our DC bicycle, the SDGs serve as the roadmap and narrative to guide us on this SD journey. And the map is based, as Maria Alejandra said, on the needs of our specific contexts and territories. So here, projects act as the back wheel of the bicycle, which can be designed and made to suit different priorities and political administrations and different actors. And then the front wheel of the bicycle steers these projects as well as the DC bicycle as a whole. And this driving force can be found through international cooperation and public policy. So of course, having a functional bicycle without a rider is rather fruitless. So the resources, strength, and the energy of the key partners and related stakeholders are really critical in determining the direction of cooperation. To be successful, DC must be based on these territorial partnerships that can have direct efforts and actions towards achieving sustainable development. So within this approach, local and regional governments are really destined to be the key actors, and it's something we'll really be emphasizing over the next few days. And they must provide the coordination, manage the challenges, and engage with and mobilize many, many different stakeholders. So in short, it's the task of local and regional governments to really make decentralized cooperation catalytic and meaningful. So as highlighted by this graphic, all these different parts and these different aspects, from the wheels, the steering, etc., are really essential to ensure the DC process can work really well, and they must all be in place in order for that to really happen, to see decentralized cooperation being successful and getting the global agenda on the move. So now we're going to do an exercise which we would start to get more of a feel for what our own DC bicycles look like in our own context. And I'm going to hand over to UCLG's Sarah Höflich to explain this activity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julia. And thank you very much, Charles. Maybe I can inform, I was also a German expert sent to a municipality, but not to Africa, but to Latin America. And yeah, this is how cooperation has evolved. So I think this partnership, when I remember this, when I went into a Latin American city, just myself into the planning team, I learned so much I could never have learned in 2 years or 3 I was there. So every time it's a mutual learning, and the persons exchanging, I think we will have later some examples on that, they will never forget. So this is also something so characteristic of decentralized cooperation, that it is a very long, it's long-lasting relations. So in order to bring us back to the bicycle analogy and to the chapters, now we will do an exercise. You do your own bicycle. So we will later split you in 3 groups. One group, the first one will be the West African, the second the South African, and the third the East African participants. You should not worry. This group division is done by our team, so you will just be sent there. But in order to know what you need to do in the group, you will create your own bicycle. And maybe here it is good you remember the different pieces of the bicycles that were shown now twice. What is the assembly? So the assembly, of course, is the piece, strategic piece to move forward, to bring the energy into driving forward. What is the policy that was shown as a wheel? The policy wheel is the local policy, the frame for actors, in particular the political mandate, projects, the project management. Funding, do we have funding, and how important is funding? Then we have the stakeholders, the actors, the partnership and network supporting us. Then we have the visibility of the result. This is shown as a honk for communicating and speaking out very loud. We have the part of the territory that was already explained, and also the Agenda 2030 that was already explained. So these pieces of our bike may be different in all groups. So we have some alternatives, and you can, in your groups, choose what kind of wheel do I have? What kind of policy framework do I have? What kind of project experience do I have, and so on. So for every piece, you can do your own, you can choose between 2 alternatives and construct your own bike. And I hope that will be a very nice and funny exercise where you all will engage. And then this will be a maximum of 20 minutes. So you can see here, this is also an exercise very visual, and our team will help to set that bikes together. Then we will come back to the plenary, and in the plenary you will report what is your finding, and we will also give a short space for those who have not been yet presented. I think we have 2 or 3 new participants that were not included in the first round. So now I think we can start to divide the groups. Don't worry, you will just need to say accept when there shows up in the screen. You are sent to another room. So.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Fernando.
Hello, I think we have here the Southern group. You did very fast.
Yeah, the bike here is fast.
We had a good bicycle that was moving.
Yeah, you are moving. Moving.
We had people who know how to cycle.
Maybe, yeah. Now we are here with the East and the West. I think the number of participants indicate we are all coming back. Wonderful. Thank you very, very much for this work in the groups. And we would now to hear your experience. So we have 3 groups: South, West, East, East, West, South. I think the South were the fastest, so let's give them the opportunity to start. I understand Genevieve is the reporter, so also let me know who is the reporter of the other groups so that I can give you the floor. Genevieve, please let us know more about your bike and about the experience.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. You know, when you said the South with the fastest, so let's give them, I thought you were going to say, let's give them a hand of applause for being so fast. But thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Point well taken, but first you have to present and then we will see.
Okay, so this is our bicycle, looking good. I think we're looking good. The seat, I think that we came up with the flat seat. I forgot, the group must help me because I might forget what some of the icons might stand for. But the flat seat was about trust and taking it slowly to form partnerships. And we feel that we've developed that in Southern Africa. We've come up with the wheels, with the mountain bike wheels, because we don't quite have policies. We're not moving forward with strong policies. We're moving forward as we need to move forward. Our pedals are also the flat pedals, because we find that it's difficult to get resources like your financial resources. So we chug along as we try to get these resources. Our cog, our central cog, is that, remind me, Fernanda, what was the cog again? I can't remember what's that big cog stood for.
It was about the knowledge and know-how and.
Oh yes. Okay, so we felt that we have the knowledge. We strong on the knowledge of moving forward, that we, and all the countries, be it Mozambique and Botswana, we all felt the same way. Our handle bars is that we felt that we didn't have strong policies in place, and we weren't moving forward with strong policies. The same with our brakes. We feel that it'll take us longer to brake because of also the policies, if I'm remembering correctly. And then our boom. Sorry, Fernando.
No, and the policy wheel, right? Like political will for the 2030 agenda.
Oh yes, which was the political
the handlebar.
The handlebars.
Yeah.
We have political will. So that's why we have good brakes in place, because we have political will to move us towards, who are focusing on the 2030 agenda. And then our boombox, typical African fashion, you know, we loud and we out there, and we love music, and we love communicating, and we love getting everyone involved, and we're very focused on consultation and communication. So that was our bicycle.
Thank you very much, Genevieve. And I think you deserve an applause.
That's him.
And after this session, we will, please close for the moment now everybody can give an applause who wants to give an applause. I do. So we do this, of course. And for the West Africans, who would be the moderator? The presenter, sorry.
So we've kindly volunteered Perpetual, even though we haven't finalized it. The suggestion was for Perpetual to please help us.
Perpetual. So,
okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, I would start in a minute, please.
We have difficulties hearing you. Can you speak again? Can you start again, Perpetual? I think we have problems listening to her, to hear you. It's a sound problem. Can anybody else maybe jump in? Hello?
So from our team, if there someone else wants to jump in quickly, maybe Thierry?
But let me try. But we are far to finish our bike. Time managing, I suppose. But we have 4 pieces, 3 pieces on your bike. Relationship with partner, we choose the Kaiser Saddle because we think in the West African region, we have an excellent relation between city and country, and they can go more, they can build strong relation and partnership between the saddle, to mobilize finance. I think it's difficult. It's most difficult in our region, but also in Africa in general, because decentralization is not more effective, and also the tools and politics and policy to mobilize finance. It's why we choose this one, because we have the issue here to mobilize finance. And the technical know-how, Perpetual talk about that, and he say we need to choose the mountain ties, because we need to do a lot of effort and manage something we are not planning before go to the DC. And finally, the cradle, if I remember, we choose the multi-ranging jinx because it's also it's not easy to push the DC and to organize them easily between city and between cities. The other part of the bike is not complete, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Thierry, and to the group. I also will give a big applause to this group. And we would now then go to the last group. And please also to this last group, I think you could give an overall feedback on this exercise, if you think that this is an exercise that is applicable for whom and when. Thank you. Who will be presenting?
So Sarah, I'm afraid we weren't successful in appointing a volunteer, but perhaps we can ask Oscar or Mercy. We have very good participation though.
Oscar, are you there?
Faryad.
Please check on.
Thank you. This is Oscar from Rwanda. So thank you, colleagues, for actually this opportunity to share what was done in the group for the East Africa region. So for our bicycle, we actually, in our discussion, we came up with a suggestion on the different parts that can make up this bicycle. As you can see, it's a nice one. And from our discussion, we started with discussing actually on existing frameworks to that streamline the decentralization cooperation. So we find that there are already existing frameworks like the EARGA, the Regional Association of Local Government Authorities or Associations, so which offer a good framework to advance this collaboration among different associations and the local authorities. So on this, we said that as SADL, we proposed a closer saddle. Yes, I think that's the exact. Yes, the closer saddle. Yes, because of this existing collaboration history among the stakeholders or the associations or even the local authorities themselves. So as regard the pedals, we choose the flat pedals because we realize that even if we have this framework, mobilizing finance is still a challenge. So it requires still a lot of strength to advance. We actually need to put more focus on this to see how we can streamline also these efforts towards local collaboration. So as regard the gears, we selected the multi-range gearing, if I recall well. Maybe my colleague will complement, because it's they are more. We think they are the more. They are more adapted to the situation of most of the countries in the region, especially at the local government level, because as regard the technical know-how and the capacity building, we need to adjust to different circumstances, so as to be relevant to the expectations actually in terms of capacity building and addressing the challenges of the members. So also as regard the wheels, maybe we can have the presenter. Yes. Yeah, maybe starting with the handlebars. As you can see, we opted for the drop handlebars because we realized that as regard policy, we have our decision makers position toward this SDGs. We realize that there is a strong political will in across the regional countries and from the government to advance the SDG agenda. So on this one, we can rely on that. And of course, regarding the tires, we opted to have a mixture or a balance of road bicycle tires and mountain bicycle tires, because we realized that this decentralization cooperation is actually the way it is done now. It's based on existing policies, and so maybe the challenge to some extent are not that the same as where there are no policies or enabling policies, but because of the other challenges whereby occasionally key actors need to adapt to existing challenges, including the finances, as we said, and other aspects. Sometimes we need to be in position to also adapt planning or intervention based on rising projects that may support the interventions that contribute to this peer learning and this collaboration between local authorities. So as you can see, we use this mixed, and of course, regarding the bells, of course, we are thinking of these classic bells to voice actually or to communicate the key findings or the key processes of this collaboration, keeping in mind the spirit of most of the key actors in this area of local governance and local government associations, who are more or less having a kind of nature of public, let's say NGOs or institutions that are less, maybe are more having the approach of interacting with key stakeholders and not like pressure groups. So in brief, that's all what I can say about the work done in this group for East Africa, hoping that can add value to the overall discussion on this topic. Thank you. Over to you, Chair Sarah. Yeah.
Excellent, Oscar. I think that was very interesting, and definitely it's so nice to see the similarities, but also differences. No, I think what stands out is every group almost talk about the political will and the political commitment, and also on the difficulties. No, so to be prepared on this work. So I think we leave it for the moment here. There is Gasa Sira wanted to say something. Gasa Sira.
Oh, thank you so much, Sarah. There is something that we learned within our group. We realized that we are different countries in East Africa. We have some similarities and differences. So we thought maybe this is a good assignment when it's done for each country, so that maybe we can learn from other countries how they are doing, because we might be having different bicycles per country. So maybe some lessons learned from either Kenya, Uganda, or what they can learn from Rwanda, so that maybe later on we can, just learning from others. That's what I just wanted to say, that we learned from our group. Thank you.
This is music. It is music in our ears, because it shows that I think you had a really good exchange and learning. So thank you very much for this reflection. I think it speaks for many of the participants. I would like also to thank to the facilitators, Fernando, Sogen, and Marta, and the support, Juan Carlos, Julia, and Valeria for this group work. And now we need to have a little break, because maybe you would like to fetch some water to get up for a moment. So even we are behind schedule, we would give you 10 minutes break. If you want, we can also do 5, but I think if you don't mind, or if anybody has a problem to close also then 15 minutes later, we would do a break of 10 minutes, so you can get up, stand up. We will be connected, but this is your time. So we meet sharp at 12:10. We start to roll out the second part of this day. Thank you so much. Okay, here we are. I see everybody is on board. So we can start now the second part of this day. Welcome back. And before starting, I would like to give the floor to those very shortly who have not been yet presenting themselves. I see Honorable Haruna Berry. Do you want shortly to say a word where you are from, Haruna? Oh, I see him in the screen, so I thought he was connected. Haruna? No. Okay, is there any?
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, can you hear me? Hello.
Go ahead.
Wow. Hello.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Good, exactly. So for me, I will say good morning to each and every one of you. I'm Honorable Haruna Bari. I'm the Vice Chairman, Janjambure Area Council. Yes, I live in the Gambia, West Africa. So I will not have much to say because I came late because the place where I drive to come to my office is around 60 kilometers. I was on the way coming. Then I already met that the session has started. But I was following after we have our groups. So I was following the exercise that we did on the bicycles. So I'm here, I'm fully seated now, and I will be following anyway. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank
if
you.
there's some, don't worry, you are most welcome. And if there's anybody else who has not been yet said hello to the group, please do it now. Otherwise, we would start now with the first with the lecture cycle. Is there anybody else? I don't see any hand raised.
Hello.
Yes. Okay, go ahead.
Hello.
Hello, Costly. Nice surprise, my friend.
Yes, I'm also happy to be part and parcel of the group. So I've also followed the discussions on the bicycle, and I followed everything together with my mayor, who is temporarily just gone away, but you'll come back shortly. So happy that we can also touch base on issues to do with the sustainable development goals in our respective countries. Thank you. My name is Costa Chanza. I work as Director of Town Planning and Estate Services from Blantyre City Council in Malawi. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay. So I don't see any other hand raised. Then we take the chance and go to our cycle of lectures. And I would like to ask Julia to show the screen. So this part now of today is on why decentralized cooperation is important for the local and regional government's global policy agenda. So this is, of course, for those who work with UCLG in any form, regional section connected in association, you know our eternal battle about visibility and considering local and regional government. So the policy agenda we have now with us on decentralized cooperation is and on SDG is not the only global agenda. I will just remind the milestones of the global agenda in the next slide. So when you see here the evolution, Charles made a very nice presentation on the evolution of how of what decentralized cooperation is. But when we look on the global agenda, we can connect here the opportunity of decentralized cooperation to connecting more to the global agenda. So if we look back, we can see the last 20 years when the Busan Partnership for Effective Development Cooperation was signed by the United Nations. This was the first of many milestones to consider local and regional governments more. So actually, Charles mentioned before, our CIB group, the Capacity Institution and Building Working Group, had made a very important policy paper by that time that was useful to really show national governments and international agencies how important is decentralized cooperation. And this policy paper, by the way, is now redeveloped because we have achieved a lot, and that's why it has to be updated. After Busan, the next milestone was the Addis Ababa Action Agenda. This is the framework for financing sustainable development and the recognition of the local and regional government's role as also a key actor in financing. So we can say the Busan Partnership, there was an Article 34, who where the first time in an international agenda, local and regional government are mentioned. And then in the Addis Ababa Action Agenda, the financing is also, of course, a key. That agenda is very crucial because here the way of seeing cooperation from the North-South angle, I think Charles also made that point, towards a more global, taking the local actors much more in consideration and the impact of cooperation more into consideration. This was taken up here. And we can say that this financing agenda is a continuous fight because even we advance in recognition of local and regional government, the financing is not necessarily increasing. On the contrary, the financing for development, that what time was mentioned 8 for aid effectiveness. Nowadays we say cooperation. The financing available has been decreasing constantly, and that is of course some part we have also to face and we have to work with as an enabling environment for us now and the new way of cooperation. Then the climate change, the global climate agreement, this on advocacy, in terms of advocacy, is a very big highlight. It should never not be underestimated because here also in Article 15 on the local government are recognized as main actors for the climate agreement. The climate agreement was also a highlight in mobilizing so many leaders to that Paris Agreement in particular, but every COP is always calling for more local government and is also seeing and giving the voice and recognizing more the work of local governments. And the finance to the allocated to the climate agreement is very important. So for you to keep in mind, the climate agreement has more financing for cooperation also, because of course it is a new challenge, and the challenge, the United Nations has been is more successful in also raising the attention financially to the nations. And not only, but also through different financing modalities. We have here with us also one of our finance experts. I have to highlight Mathilde is with us, and maybe later on in any group work we can come back to this. Then the Sendai framework, this is the resilience agenda, and it is the first time here. Also, there's target E in the Sendai framework where local governments are recognized and where nations are obliged to support local government. And then the last agenda is the new urban agenda. It is here before the SDG, but actually it was time-wise after, but the new urban agenda is like the way how all the agendas would connect in the work of municipalities and on urban and on urbanization. So this agenda is a very important agenda because this is the agenda for habitat, but it's also an agenda for us about SDG 11 and about national urban policies, sub-national urban policies. And this agenda, maybe it is a little bit stuck in evolution because it has been, it was a very big ambition in principles. We are very happy there on all the principles that had been considered, but the implementation is not that easy. And we look forward now, Habitat is really taking it up through mainly through national urban policies. And the last piece is the agenda on sustainable development. This was, as I said earlier, than the new urban agenda, but this is maybe the overall largest agenda ever. And this is the most sounding global agenda, I think, of all, because it's not only sounding for government, it is also sounding for private sector, for stakeholders of all kinds, for NGOs. So here we have, of course, our SDGs. The SDG 11 is the urban SDG called, but mainly the SDG 17, and this is for us the crucial SDG for decentralized cooperation, because there are several pieces we will come to in a lecture later on, that the SDG 17 is really an enormous opportunity to show, to connect, to call attention, and to attract more stakeholders to the decentralized cooperation. So this is, in a nutshell and in a very basic timeline, the overview of the advocacy agenda of UCLG in these global agreements that have something to do with Agenda 21 and decentralized cooperation. And this is only a forward to the African agenda now, which will be presented by my colleague Najat. So Najat, I think you are around, and if you are okay, we can put the slides for you.
Can I share my screen, please, Sarah, to deal with the time, please, if you don't mind?
Okay, if you prefer.
Yes, you already have the permissions to do it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to join as a lecturer in this training of trainers to share with you the understanding the global and African policy agenda, but the global perspective was already clarified and explained by my friend Sarah. So just to remind from the global perspective that collaboration and partnerships are at the heart of the world we want. It's a value-based transformation policy and process calling for collaboration and partnership. It's among also the 5 Ps, as you know: prosperity, people, planet, peace, but with a focus on partnership. So the international community has committed to mobilize the means required to implement, to localize, to territorialize all this global commitment. And you can see that partner is an essential approach to SDGs impact. So let us move to the African perspective, and I will share with you the main legal instruments adopted by member states in the African Union level. So first of all, you have this 7 aspiration. This is 7 aspiration of what we name Africa We Want, is the Agenda 2063. The goals of this agenda are to transform the nations of the continent into democratic, peaceful, and innovative powerhouses that will aim to be global players in the next 50 years. Included in Agenda 2063 are what are known as the 7 aspiration. And these objectives encompass all the goals of Agenda 2063, but also the global agendas as presented by Sarah. The 7 aspirations are as follows, and I would like to emphasize and focus on the aspiration number 7, and Africa as a strong, united, resilient, and influential global player and partner. The second instrument is, of course, as you may know, the African Charter on the Values and Principles of Decentralization, Local Governance, and Local Development, adopted in 2014 in Malabo. And the objective of this charter, and please document, I'm talking to the participants, document yourselves beside all the documents you have in the module. Take time to have this document among your library, let's say your library. The objective of this African Charter, is to promote the association and cooperation of local governments or local authorities at the local, national, regional, and continental levels, and promote civil society, private sector, and people participation in decentralization, local governance, and local development initiative. I invite you also to have a look to the Article 17, dedicated to solidarity, cooperation, and partnership. And it's a concrete African roadmap how we can support, encore, and implement solidarity, cooperation, and partnership at all levels, whether at national, regional, local, territorial, or global levels. The third instrument is the African Union Development Agency, named Nepad or ODA. The mandate is to provide knowledge-based advisory services and technical assistance to African Union member states and regional economic communities to strengthen their capacities, among others. And the agency implements its mandate through 6 broad thematic areas, which all are niches for collaboration, for solidarity, and for partnership. And the last legal instrument is, of course, UCLG Africa Constitution, adopted in 2016. Our founding values, the establishment of relations of friendship and cooperation between members, and openness to partnership between local governments and the organization from other parts of the world that subscribe to this constitution and work in line with the principles stated therein. The goals is to promote cooperation and partnerships between local governments in Africa and with those of other regions of the world. But we can do this and implement this legal instrument, regional instrument and African instrument, if we work all together to create an enabling environment and ecosystem for partnerships conducive to co-creation and collaboration in Africa. Here I found a document that you can add to your documents, is the SDGs Partnership Guidebook. And I would like to emphasize on this definition of what we are talking about, multi-sector partnership for the SDGs. It's an ongoing collaborative relationship among organizations from different stakeholders types, aligning their interests around a common vision, combining their complementarity resources and competencies, and sharing risk to maximize value creation towards the sustainable development goals and deliver benefits to each of the partners. So promoting and anchoring decentralized cooperation and partnerships at all levels require to take into account diverse conditions and master the policy, the methodology, and the strategy. And this is why we are very proud to learn how from this model 4, among other initiatives. And thank you very much. Welcome.
Welcome, Nayad. Thank you very much for this beautiful insight, ambitious insight, and also keeping in time. It was very, very informative. We have another lecture now. So please, also for the participants, we all share with you the trainer's guide. And in the trainer's guide, You can now, as you have been listening to the lectures, you can have a look and you will find so much information for you to do also your lectures, because in the end of the day, we will also announce that we will have some lectures that are still looking for speakers. So be aware of that. But for the moment, we go to Sugen with the next lecture.
So here we have a video, right?
Yes, Unpacking Agenda 2030.
Okay. Oh, we'll be sharing the video.
Sorry, coming.
Thank you.
Just a minute.
So again, do you want to do the lecture?
No, just going.
Okay.
Yeah, now we go. Sorry again. This is good for us to see that everyone can do, even me. Just doing again. Sorry.
Yeah, here you can see that Fernando, he is actually using all the lectures and for doing training packs to be displayed online for self-paced learning. So here you have an example of this.
Oh, just a minute, because we are not having the sound, but just a minute here.
Do you want me to try and share it?
Yeah.
Okay. Give me 1 second.
Just to let everyone know that this was all planned, just to show you how technical difficulties can creep in and how we manage and how we start sharing. So please, it's all part of the learning exercise.
So again, if you want, you can do the lecture now live, and we do the next lecture in a video.
I think we're good. I think it's going to work. Let's just check.
Unpacking Agenda 2030 and the SDGs.
Okay.
As
Can
you are
you
no
hear
doubt
sound?
well aware, the 2030 Agenda has set the global development
All
agenda
fine.
for the next 10 years, identifying and stimulating crucial areas of action for both humanity and our planet. Now, as local and regional government practitioners, I think it's really important to understand the principles and the dimensions of the 2030 Agenda in order to effectively localize it in our respective towns, cities, and regions. The 17 SDGs and 169 related aspirational global targets are very action-oriented, global in nature, and universally applicable. They are comprehensive in their scope and they cover all the policy domains that are essential for sustainable growth and development. Interestingly, they are also very strongly interconnected. Progress in one area spills over into other domains. The SDGs require coherent policy design as well as implementation and multi-stakeholder engagement to help many different actors reach their shared objectives. Now, there are three concepts that we need to understand about the linkages between 2030 Agenda, the SDGs, and decentralized cooperation. Firstly, the SDG Principles. These are based on experience, multi-dimensional approach to sustainable development, leave no one behind, global in nature, universal nature, integral nature, and inclusive. Secondly, localization. You see, the effective implementation of SDGs will largely be dependent on our ability to realize them in our own cities and regions. All of the SDGs have targets that relate directly to the mandates of local and regional governments, given our responsibility around basic service delivery and local development. It's for this reason that we have to be at the heart of 2030 agenda. Cities and regions that are well suited to translate Agenda 2030 into more concrete and tangible actions. Moreover, they can work closely with their citizens to engage them and ensure they understand how local action contributes to the achievement of global goals. Now, whilst all 17 goals have an impact on cities and regions, it may be useful to pay particular attention to SDG 11, which focuses on sustainable cities and communities. Thirdly, SDG 17, a global partnership for sustainable development. In a nutshell, SDG 17 is about the need to form global partnerships in order to pursue sustainable development. The traditional one-to-one partnership is really being replaced by multi-level, multi-stakeholder key partnerships that bring together all of the stakeholders across different levels, across borders, and across sectors to really effectively address local challenges. So remember, of all the tiers or spheres of government, it's LRGs, that's us, that are in an ideal position to encourage and facilitate partnerships between private bodies, public bodies, and civil society within our communities. We hope that this summary has helped unpack the principles and the important dimensions of Agenda 2030 and how we, as local and regional governments, can really make a difference.
Excellent. This was, as you see, extremely short, well prepared, but pre-recorded. And we have another lecture also pre-recorded from our Chief of Staff here in the World Secretariat. Maybe you know him, Pablo. He has prepared for us the next lecture. So Fernando or Julia, I don't know who will do this.
Hi everyone. It's a complicated lecture since it's all about trying to build a case on narrative, and this is something with which I would like to start, which is building the case on the power of narrative. Since narrative might sound trivial to many of us, and we don't find its sense as easy when talking about something as concrete as decentralized cooperation. So first of all, I would try to build a case on the power, on the transformative power of the narrative, and on finding tune between localizing the formal process of localization, but as well as the political process of what localizing means, and this is narrative. Narrative is the political scope that can give us access to this leading transformation. And also, I would also say that narrative is the spirits of what we are doing, and this is how we link each of them. I will go now with this slide, and I will try to make you go directly to the SDGs principles and to the 8 measurable, because we tend to link SDGs with this. Even though we all agree that we have a renewed social contract and that we talk about leaving no one behind, when we talk about projects, specific things that we are doing in the territories related to the SDGs, we try to think, how do we measure to have access to finance, to have access to grants, to report to my national government. So we normally tend to relate SDGs to reporting, monitoring, and not to the common narrative of leaving no one behind. When we talk about decentralized cooperation from our constituency, it's obvious that we are talking about solidarity, that we are talking about the common good, or on public service delivery, as we were seeing in the virtual lecture before. So what we try to do is to merge these narratives, and this is why we are doing them in 2 ways: one on principles and one on synergies. I will go to the synergies one later on. So my case here is that SDGs are more than an indicator system to measure development in the United Nations. They are in these principles. We normally tend to identify them with the identity, with the 17 colors, with the 70s logos, But they are the principles based on experience. They are multidimensional, and they have a powerful idea, which Jean-Baptiste was referring before, which is a game changer. They are both from the North and the Global South. And this is crucial. This is how they link to the Busan Principles. Even though we have that they are focused on results, the Busan Principles, and that they need transparency and accountability, they have a strong ownership, development priorities, and developing countries component, which the SDGs have also. So having said this, we need to build a common narrative around this, and the common narrative around them is localization and transformation. So if we go to the next slide, and this is where we'll see them as clear as it is the transformative decentralized cooperation. It is in line with the SDGs. We always tend to say that city diplomacy is transformative. And how do we make actionable this diplomacy? It is through decentralized cooperation. And this means that decentralized cooperation is the transformation tool that we have to localize the SDGs. If we go through this link and if we make this case, it is trying to bridge between what donors and politicians in international level are negotiating through the actionable sphere of government, which is local and regional governments, who are transforming this is also important. We are not only transforming territories, we are transforming the Agenda 2030 and the SDGs when we localize the agenda. It is giving the cross-cutting issue. It's not only transformative in terms of assistential practices in the territories, but it's also transforming from the bottom up the universal framework. I will go one by one to the principles only to build a case. And this is also building the case in terms of where we are and where we stand. The SDGs are a universal framework. This is what we were saying when talking about global south and north. They are also a roadmap. We need to know that we have a pathway towards 2030 and beyond in terms of transforming this practice and including new partners. They are a possibility of exchange, cooperation of knowledge, not only between local governments, but also inside the same government, between areas of the different local and regional governments. They highlight foreign action of our constituency. What we mean by this is that they bridge between local and international, which is something that we can facilitate through the networks, but as well through the projects. They highlight the need for states and international organizations to provide our constituency with skills and resources. And I have to say that they also help us to advocate on this. The agenda also calls for strengthening of data and collection and management, which is a reporting process which is good to attract donors, but as well to make local and regional governments more transparent and more accountable. And finally, it aims to improve monitoring and reporting systems, both nationally, locally, and internationally. And then we have the decentralized cooperation as a driver of localization, as I said before. And these are only facts to build a case. We all know that 70% of the targets of the SDGs depend on local action. And the decentralized cooperation is a way to transform how we tackle this action, which is through localization. Decentralized cooperation is a perfect space for a multi-partner and multi-stakeholder engagement in the territorial level, which is SDG 17 is the SDG that covers all the agenda. Decentralized cooperation can help as well to raise local awareness, to inform citizens, as Ludo was referring in the chat before, which is one of the political exercises that we need to do if we want to meet the targets. Decentralized cooperation also promotes multi-level governance, which is necessary, and it's 100% localization process. And it also serves as a platform to systematize, share, learning, building capacities. And finally, it encourages motivation of both, I would say here, local leaders and citizens. Finally, if we go to my next slide, we need to bring decentralized cooperation. Well, we need to bring development through decentralized cooperation to the territories. For us, this is localization. we go with the 5 P's of sustainable development, and we will add 2, which is project and policy through the exercise we had with the bicycle. And this is super relevant since this sustainable development is based on people, planet, prosperity, partnership, and peace. These are the 5 P's that are the global scope. What we say is that through decentralized cooperation, we have the 2 tires, which is project-based and policy-based, and this lands in the territory. This whole bicycle atmosphere, this place where we are riding this common bike, is what localization means for us, and it's a localization process that we need to strengthen. For us, this is not only about project and policy, but as well as public services. So I would add the 8th P, which is public, since the public is back, and this is what we are doing when we talk about localization, is bringing public as a responsibility of local and regional governments, but as well as our common good and our common agenda. So this is the bicycle of localization. It's a bicycle of multi-stakeholders and partnership engagement. And this is narrative. It's a political side that gives our tires the possibility to keep biking, which is narrative and the political live. So I would leave it here in terms of building the case around narrative, Sarah. I hope it makes sense, and it's only bringing back localization everywhere. I know it's in the notes, but I think we need to have it permanently everywhere, since this is what we are describing.
Yeah, so here you see, this is our colleague Pablo. He is the chief of staff in UCLG and works very closely in advocacy with Emilia. And as he says, the localization have been really catalytic for our organization to show local governments work. And I think for also in UCLG, so we are now disconnecting. So for us, it is like broadening, as Pablo said. It's not only the VLR, the VSR, which is voluntary local review, voluntary subnational review, which are possibilities to make the work of local government visible, but it's overall. So this deeper impact we have, he believes with the bicycle, I think, is also inside our organization happening. So for the next minutes here, for the half an hour that is coming, we have prepared another exercise, because we know you like doing exercise, and so do we. And also we will go again into breakout rooms. So the next exercise is about SDG alignment to project ideas. You will have a group that will look again into a mural. There you have a description. So I do not now go into detail what you are going to do, but just from your practical work, here the idea is that, okay, if I need to meet and achieve the SDG goals, and not all, but only 3, how do I do? What are means of going forward? And this will be facilitated again by colleagues in the different groups. So I would now suggest we go to the group work. Maybe some colleague can
Hello, Hayat. Providence, you should have received a request to join a breakout room. So if you can follow that and go to the breakout room, the facilitator will guide you there through the exercise.
Kuro kila China wachakuma. Kila mia China. Dum sukari uketu. Kila. Ni radani mera, ni kwa chama kumuro fana. Tu ini saja manga. Ndio maombi pesa kwa sababu wakati wote. Jogo sivugino infaka unonga mana tania uratikira iyo kada weche moko mondo warogi ne in fact trying to chaotic mbili tu enough for me jogo nyinyi rusala vikarango yao ndio kwa sababu ndio financial year kwa sababu ni mana Lois no mizani ya iki Luis umisa samina kaloma itrisha kanyeo. In fact na vika payroll, vika PSL, kwani kuna Luis luonga kwa viseka cha. Tunza bia wongo hawendo. Mzani hasara rito wanya lulu kutakiwa. Hiyo ni mumisa. Kwele mumisa etanko wanyo pesa dogo nigi pesa. Lakini benyo konindo kanuza mkono ngutu wa rongo. Konindo keno vika nyane matia gine gonoka winjorago mang'eny.
Hello, John. I see we have John Chomi now from Malawi with us, from Lilongwe. And we are waiting everybody to come back.
Hello, Sarah.
Hello.
Hello, sorry, I had the connectivity problems. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Later, we will
Thank
give you a minute to present yourself, and we hope to count on you in the following
Thank
days.
you.
It's very nice having you with us. It's an honor. After long time to see you, I hope you switch on your camera.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Thank you.
So that's good. Now we are back in plenary, and we will have a little time dedicating now for the groups. So group number 1 was moderated by whom? Who was the facilitator? I have to see. Yeah? I have to check.
Group number 1 is yours.
Oh, it's mine. Yes, I'm going back now. Okay. So for the group number 1, we have, Amakosi will present very, very short what we discovered. A real project. Amakosi? Juan Carlos will share the screen so you can start. Thank you very much.
Sir, would you be in a position to share the screen on my behalf? Yeah.
Yes. We will share the screen to show the finding. No, sorry. I saw Juan Carlos had just, it's just coming back.
Okay.
Here.
Share the screen.
I did. Is this one?
This one. Okay, Amakosi, go ahead.
Can you kind of zoom it out a little bit so that I can see? Oh, from my, yeah. So we're basically looking at the three, the SDG 5, 8, and 13 in a new project, and I think we had a number of projects fitting in the DC, and then we looked at a water project in Banjul, whereby we're thinking of producing water for irrigation for women, but also looking at, in general, I think producing this water sustainably using solar, which is a replenishable source of energy, but also for use. And then we looked at the needs that we do have for this ideal project. We talked about community ownership, whereby we're saying that this project, I think for it to be done, the communities will take a center stage to provide for the resources, the basic, the rudimentary resources that are available in the community. We also looked at the skills and technology that this project will pass on as the artisans will be working on the project, and then the communities should be able to learn from that. And then we talked about the availability of land as a resource, but this land also should have prerequisite water tables that is going to give us water. We talked about training. We talked about the energy generators that they need to be available, but also more importantly, we talked about our finances, looking at the financial resources to be available for this. And then we moved on to the actors. While the actors, we talked about the community themselves, the beneficiaries. And then we looked at the technicians, the people the people with skills to help us on the water side, but also to help us with the technology of us pumping that water using solar, but also mounting the respective water reservoirs for us to have a continuous availability of water. We talked about the women leaders. We talked about the local authorities, the local and the regional governments, the donors, the development partners. For LRG, we talked about the farming community, because these are the guys that are going to use this water for the farming, and then the water use associations that they're going to facilitate for the consumption of this water to secure that it's clean and safe for the communities. Move up a little bit for me to see the SDGs. But also we talked about the consumers, the buyers, but also the byproducts, the products that you can use, the respective products that you produce with this water. Yep. And then finally, the SDGs we talked about, we looked at these, I think these are ideal projects for SDG number 12, responsible consumption and production. SDG number 1, that there is no poverty, because when you have got availability of clean water, then poverty goes in many contexts. Number 6, clean water and sanitation. Number 11, sustainable cities and communities. Number 17, on partnership, because if you can look at what we've discussed below, it tells a whole web of intermingling of different agencies and prayers to secure that there is availability of water. So these are sustainable partnerships and also us achieving zero hunger. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Amakosi. This was a great summary. And actually, it was very nice that this is a real project. And it was, maybe if you want to say a word, Aki, on this, if you are okay, because you brought up this project. Was it well delivered? Was it well communicated? Well, no problem. Anyhow, it is a real project between a Moroccan city and Banjul, and we can see wonderful, very well done. And I would give an applause, please, to hear.
So, Sarah, I think it was very well communicated.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's not already realized, but in this project, it's approved and will be realized as soon as possible.
Okay, Abir, thank you so much. So now we go to the group 2. I understand it's Kofi reporting.
Hi, hello, good morning.
Go ahead, Kofi.
Okay, I can't see the screen anymore. The group has to share the screen. I'm not seeing the screen anymore. Okay, then I have it now. And we talked more about renewable energy, and we made certain few proposals. I mean, as in, about the infrastructure and the need for a housing program, but in a housing program which has energy not based upon the national grid, but based upon solar, wind energy, or waste. Most of these houses make a lot of waste, and the disposal of waste becomes a problem. So then if you're able to if the local authorities are able to set up a housing unit and a common waste site where all these waste, both solid and liquid, can be put together, and they generate energy, that will be more clean energy than what is coming out from this oil and water, other stuff. The wind energy too, we take in, for instance, communities where they have, they have a strong winds over there. We put up these wind panels and they can generate electricity for communities in units, but not as a whole community, as in large, but let's say up to 10 or 20 houses, every unit has its energy component. So this in the whole does not put a lot of pressure on the national grid. You don't need to get electricity from the national grid to work. You generate your own electricity through the waste from your communities and through the wind or solar. This thing can be done in conjunction with the Environmental Protection Agency, the Works and Housing Ministry in the communities, and the local authorities can take charge of it because they know where and where. Let's say here we have a lot of winds over here, and when you go over here, we don't have a good place where we can dispose of our waste, especially the solid waste. Okay, fine, let's build this structure here, get the solid waste infrastructure here, which can turn the solid waste from the communities into energy, which can be used by the communities themselves. and it brings about a cleaner environment, makes even the cities and communities safe for people to live there. So this is what we talked about, and it's even more affordable, and it reduces inequalities for people. Everyone has access to electricity. So this is what we talked about during our working session.
Thank you very much. This is a session we learned so much from, because we thought it would be, you would be inventing anything project, but we see you always have a lot of touch to the reality, as in the group 1. And what about group 3? Gasasira, you will report us back what you have found.
Thank you. In group 3, we discussed about 3 SDGs, mainly focusing on responsible consumption and production, and also good health. So we tried to, we discussed about one of the projects that is being implemented in Rwanda, mainly in tackling malnutrition, because there was a study on demographic health survey that shows there is high level of stunting in Rwanda, mainly because of lack of nutrients or low intake. So the project we discussed on was how do we fight malnutrition in rural and also urban places. So the idea that we discussed about was to have like kitchen gardens at the household level. So whereby people can easily have access to high nutrient food, nutritious food at low cost. So here we're talking about more of a pyramid structure of a garden at the household level on a small plot of land, where they can have cabbage, carrots, or greens, mainly increasing like the diverse diet, and also solving the issue of limited knowledge on the nutrition practices, and also feeding practices for mother towards their kids, mainly under 5 years old. So we looked at what are the needs for us to be able to implement this kind of project in Rwanda. One was the expertise on urban agriculture, trying to train people and having those kind of demo plots in different communities where a household can come and look and learn and go and replicate at their household level. What are the technologies behind, for example, for irrigation? And as one of the group mentioned, what they are doing currently, how are we dealing with the existing master plans, because that has to be integrated in the city plans. And also looking at the resource mobilization strategies. How are the resources being either within different platforms or donors or the government initiatives? How are those kind of resource needed being mobilized and integrated into the plan? And also stakeholders consultation, making sure that there is a platform where all these kind of ideas are being exchanged regarding the needs, what needs from different stakeholders. And also exchange of knowledge from one another and also other cities, trying to see how the best practices, either from the country, within the country, or the neighboring countries, how they've been implemented, those kind of projects. And regarding the actors, we looked at the local government itself being the lead in decentralizing those kind of activities at the grassroots level, who are the beneficiaries. And also looked at the academia, knowledge sharing and research on those kind of aspects or activities, ideas. We looked at the partners and also bilateral or multilateral partners, mainly on resource mobilization, and also the private sector coming in, bringing the technologies. And the NGOs, we look at and then we went to, because we started with 3 SDGs, but later on in developing the project, we realized that this project is also interlinked to other SDGs. We ended up looking at the SDG number 17 about the partnership, and also 8th, which is about the economic growth, and also the main one, which is number 2, zero hunger. And also you can see that it's completely interlinked to other SDGs. So that was the project for group 3.
Thank you very much. Also very, very inspiring, and applause to the group 3. You have achieved a lot in the time given. So the group 4, it is Charles Patzika who will be reporting back.
Thank you, Sarah. Just waiting for the screen to come. Well, yes, it is here now. We had our topic for the session was women leadership in local food systems for justice. We had 3 major SDGs, that is gender equality, peace, justice, and strong institutions, and SDG 12, responsible consumption and production. The project description is a training program where schoolgirls have a leadership program and teach fellow school peers about sustainable food consumption, traditional knowledge around seeds, agriculture as a form of local culture, which must be taken into account for sustainable development and resilience specifically. So you can see it's a mouthful, but it really addresses that those 3 SDGs in a comprehensive way. Our needs for this project. Definitely, we require finance. We need expertise on food systems. We need support and participation of the local leadership, very important. Without that, their support will not go very far. Then we also looked at the various actors who should take part. We said that this project would be implemented through the regional network of REFELA. For those who don't know what REFELA is, REFELA means women in local government, political leaders, women in local government. It's a network of women leaders who are political, who will come together to try and address gender equality issues and the challenges of a social nature in general. And the other actors would include civil society, educational departments, cultural institutions. Then finally, although you might start off with some SDGs, they have an impact on other SDGs as well. So in our case, we identified other SDGs like poverty, I'm sorry, my eyes are not very good. The print has become too small for me to see. Partnerships, also, the need to establish partnerships. Again, I think very quickly, I would emphasize that these partnerships now, we are looking at networks. So the REFELA network is a strong network to promote gender issues. So this is a very important partnership, and we're looking at the regional level. So we say this activity will be carried out at the regional level. And the other SDG would be, I'm sorry, I cannot see, but I'm sure you can see. Those with bright eyes can see what the other SDGs that are involved in. So this is our project. And just to emphasize that you might focus on one SDG, but it has spin-offs which can affect other SDGs as well. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much, Charles. This is exactly why we did this exercise. And I think you all have really implemented what we understand under narrative, because when we develop projects and design them, the SDG are really very, very helpful. It's just to look at them, and then it helps when you design, when you think about, when you strategize. So congratulations also to this group, to all the 4 groups. You have done a wonderful job. And now we are coming towards the end. We have still a little reflection here to do on the challenges of learning, because now you went through a long first day. And so before giving the floor to Sugen, I would like here again to give the opportunity to those who are newcomers to say for a moment hello, switch on your camera and say something if you want. Just take the floor or show me your hand. I see John wanting to say something. John, show
Hello.
me. Yes.
Hello, Sarah. Hello, colleagues. Good afternoon. My name is John Chome, Chief Executive of Lilongwe City, the capital city of Malawi. Thank you.
Excellent. Anybody else? I don't see any other hand raised. Okay. So those of you maybe who want any time feel you have not been presenting yourself, you can anytime do it. Okay, now we come to this final reflection of the day one. And before this, the check on content. So Gen is doing this for us. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Sarah. So, dear colleagues, friends, I know we are tired. It's been a long, intensive day. And on our little private WhatsApp group, everyone is saying, Sugen, keep it quick. So I'm going to do it as quickly as possible. I think thanks to Nalatando, who has been scrolling down to our chat comments to find out if there were any comments on the content on training. So we don't want to spend too much of time on this, but you'll see on the screen there were 3 questions on the content. So I think Thierry was asking Charles around the 4th Industrial Revolution. We won't have that discussion now, but we want to flag it, and maybe Charles can have an online discussion around how we look at 4IR. If I can please ask Thierry that we won't discuss this now, but maybe Charles, we can have a bilateral, or we can pick it up separately. The other question from Musa around how partners can enhance partnerships between governments. And I want to suggest that we have a whole segment there around partnerships, and we'll do that on day 4. So with your permission, we'll pick that up on day 4. And similarly, there was a question from Oscar Ren, again, asking about alignment and picking up with issues of diplomacy, which I suggest we'll do on day 4. So moving very quickly to some of the training challenges. So you know, we've done out of our 6 chapters, congratulations, we've completed the whole of chapter 1, we've completed the whole of chapter 2. And if we had more time, we would facilitate a 10-15 minute discussion right now. But I think I just want to give you a flavor of the questions that we need to start thinking about. Firstly, were all of the lectures clear? So given the time frame that was allocated to the speakers, 10 minutes, 5-minute video clips, do you think you would have the knowledge to be able to replicate them? I think this is what we really have to think about as we're moving forward. Will we be able to replicate them, knowing that all of the presenters will have slides, and in each of the slides we have little crib notes, presenter notes, and we have the guide. So think about that very carefully around the lectures and the content around the lectures. And certainly on day 4, there's a request where we'll ask you to do a little bit of homework around how you will roll out in each of our regions, how we'd roll this plan out. So if we can ask you over the next few days, because we won't have time now, to think about where the lecture's clear, will you be able to replicate them? Secondly, around the exercises. For example, did that warm-up mural work, right? So we started off, and I saw there was a little bit of hesitancy, perhaps for some of us to use mural. So think about that. Did it work well? What would we need to make mural, that exercise, warm-up exercise, work better? The bicycle exercise. So think about that. We broke up into groups. Did that exercise work well? I must confess that working with Juan in my session, the participation was not as, we had 12 participants, but we had 2 participants who were speaking. So from our group, I'm starting to think, was it about the way we facilitated, or was it that the bicycle analogy was not appropriate? From feedback, looking at the other groups, it seemed that the bicycle analogy worked very well. And so maybe start thinking about the bicycle analogy. The SDG exercise that we just did now, did that exercise work well? From certainly sitting in plenary and listening to all of the inputs, I thought that worked very well. So if we had more time, friends, colleagues, sisters and brothers, we certainly would have opened it up. But we're really wanting to wrap up, not unless, Sarah, I'm just going to ask, do we want to allow for at least a quick 1 minute response before I wrap up the entire session? Or do you think we should leave it for day 4? I'm just checking quickly, Sarah.
No, of course, if there are contributions, we really are happy to listen to them. Huh? So
thank you. Thank you. So on my screen, I see there's an Urban Councils Association with a raised hand, and others can help me because I'm on slideshow. I can't see the other raised hands. So, but is that a raised hand, or is there, if not, is there anyone who, because this is a really important session, colleagues. This is about us reflecting on what happened, because we're going to be going out into our regions to train. So is there any reflections on any of these questions? We don't have to do it systematically, but please, by show of, by raising your hand, and our colleagues would, there we go. I think that's Genevieve's hand who's raised. So do you want to share, Jen? Thank you. Just unmute.
Thank you, Sdg, and everyone else. My thoughts when we did the bicycle exercise is that some of us have ride bicycles, and we kind of know what the parts of the bicycles serve, what purpose they serve, but not everybody has had the opportunity to ride a bicycle. So I thought that, with the bicycle diagram, if the bicycle exercise, if you could have a diagram kind of just explaining what do the pedals do, what does the cog do, what do the wheels do, what does the seat do, etc. So that, when we go into the exercise, people are familiar and not trying to fathom out what do these parts of the bicycle do for the bicycle. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's a very good point. Some of us might take it for granted, and that could allow for, explain some of the hesitancy. Is there another quick reflection, maybe from anyone else, because I know our SG has entered the room, so we don't want to delay too much, but is there anyone else, perhaps one last thought before we do a wrap up?
I just want to mention something, and I believe that maybe not for today, but just as you were saying, that we are going to be doing these kind of exercises every day after we finish. So what I would say is for you to keep on looking at the exercises and see how would you feel when you have to facilitate that exercise. What will be the questions that you will have when you will have to facilitate this exercise? But I'm not focusing in the platform itself, because the platform, we from the learning team will help you to manage the platform, but in terms of the content, maybe. So that will be one of my suggestions, maybe for other days.
That's an excellent contribution. Thank you, Mariale. Sarah, I do have one slide on wrap up and way forward. Do we want our SG to perhaps address us first and then I conclude with that? Or shall I wrap up?
Maybe you continue and then Jean-Pierre concludes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I'm going to try changing the slide. So to wrap up, everyone, I must say it was an incredible session. We covered all of chapter 1 and all of chapter 2 very well today. I want to say we managed time fairly well. I think a little bit delayed. I'm looking at my time. It's a 1:45 South African time. So maybe 10, 15 minutes out, but all things considered, I think we did fairly well. Excellent participation, excellent interest, lots of engagement. So thank you. Thank you to everyone for really making this happen. Just quick preparation for tomorrow. We do chapter 3, the whole of chapter 3 tomorrow, and we start with chapter 4. If it's possible, I know it might be asking for a little bit much, but if it's possible, if you can take a quick read again through that module, it'll be really wonderful to get a sense of, this is what chapter 3 is about. So it'll start getting our creative juices going. Certainly when Mariale sent out her message, we sent all of the information out. And another logistical quick query, if all tomorrow's presenters can send their slides to Marielle now, that would really be important. So all in all, thank you so much. We had a wonderful session. Sarah, can I hand back, perhaps just for protocol's sake, back to you, and you could introduce our SG and formally wrap up. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you so again for reminding this really importance of the feedback from your side. We will have 4 days, so we are not worried. Please remind these questions, and everything you tell us, we can always adapt. We are here in work in progress, and nothing is written in stone. Fortunately, we now have really flexible tools, the PowerPoints, the mural, even the text. And of course, we also will have an African agenda on decentralized cooperation as one of the outcomes here. And that one, of course, is probably something I hope Jean-Pierre will be happy with and happy about. And we are very happy, Jean-Pierre, you are with us. We know you couldn't do it in the morning, and so grateful you can join us and give some words to the participants. Jean-Pierre, Secretary General of UCLG Africa, go ahead, please.
Hello, do you hear me? Do you see me? Okay. Well, Sarah, thank you very much for this important endeavor, because we know that what we gain from the talks in 2015 was to have these SDGs localized. And the localization of SDGs is so key to the subnational and local authorities that we think it is very critical that it is owned by all the local and subnational authorities across Africa. Of course, across the world, but in particular across Africa. And we think it is important that we own this agenda of localization, because it gives us an impetus in the dialogue between the local government and the national government. And it gives us a program, because through this localization and the targets that we all accepted as a universal target to meet by 2030, it means that every other local government on this continent should try and get an understanding of the efforts it should be deployed to meet this target according to the priorities that it will define based on the wants of its inhabitants. So I don't want that this exercise be seen as just accommodating the call by the international community. It is to the contrary, a resolve by the citizen of each a local government and a subnational government to try and get a direction, a vision, a promise for the improvement of the living conditions of the people. And we place all this in a human perspective, because we want to shy away from statistics and indicators to concentrate on the way people are being empowered through the localization of the Agenda 2030. And I can extend it even towards Agenda 2063 of the African Union. So it is very clear that having people committed to let's say, enlighten the citizens on the importance of localizing the SDGs as a political and a policy program for local government across this continent is so essential that I cannot insist more on the need for you to master this process and to disseminate it widely on the continent. I'm taking too long to express myself, and you see how passionate I am about it, because I know that this is a critical ingredient to changing the life of our people on the ground. So thank you, Sarah, for this opportunity, and I encourage all of you to continue working on this steadily. And I hope through our common efforts, we make a difference. And time is now for Africa to also start thinking how she can contribute to the improvement of this universal agenda, where we want to see Africa taking responsibilities and not being only recipient of the agenda defined elsewhere. So, good continuation.
Thank you very much, Jean-Pierre, and thank you for the always the trust in our teamwork, in your team, in the team here, the learning team. Maria Alejandra has been coordinating this, and she will keep informing you a lot for everybody. So I think it is meaningful for us as organization and for UCLG and the world of local governments, what Jean-Pierre was just saying. So now for the goodbye, I would like you to switch the cameras on, because we really would like to take a group picture. It's a little bit not the way we would most love to be, but at least so we can have your smile and see you tomorrow. We will also use the opportunity to see the faces with the names. That is more for us to remember your names and to make friends with you. So I think, Juan Carlos, maybe you can take a picture. You say 1, 2, 3, and then we go close and smile. Yes. How was it? How was it?
Okay. Wait for a while. I put my name.
Just 1 moment, please, Sarah.
John, please, camera.
Just please 1 second, please, Sarah.
Okay.
It's not working. It's okay.
No, it's not that much.
Sarah, it's not easy to smile twice.
Yes.
We have to think of a joke about SDGs. I don't know. SDGs joke. For us to keep smiling.
C'est OK.
Je suis passé, c'est écrit?
Non, c'est mal écrit.
That's a good handout, Mariale. We could think of joke.
It's okay. We don't care.
Yeah.
Is there a WhatsApp page for this group?
Okay. Good.
Working now. The name is changed. Well done.
Monsieur
Well, thank you for all of you. I hope.
Yeah, Jean-Pierre, now you have to switch on your camera and to come close.
Oh,
if not,
okay.
we only see your name.
Are you listening to me?
Yes.
Okay, you have me now.
Okay, good.
This is the best I can do.
That's very nice. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we see you tomorrow. I think all protocol observed. Thank you, everybody.
It was an excellent start today.
Welcome, thank you.
Thank you very much, Najat and Charles, and all the team UCLG Africa.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Just a reminder for all our organizers to stay on for a few minutes. I know your tummies are rumbling.